The night began like any other at the Grand Hall, where people from every corner of the city gathered to watch the weekly talent show. The lights shimmered above the audience, and the air buzzed with anticipation. Everyone expected singers, dancers, comedians, and magicians, the usual lineup of energetic hopefuls waiting for their moment to shine. No one imagined that this particular night would turn into something unforgettable, something that people would talk about for years. It was the night when an unexpected audience member stepped onto the stage and blew everyone away. The show opened with a burst of sound as the host ran onto the stage, greeting the crowd with enthusiasm. The audience clapped and cheered, swaying with the excitement of what was to come. The first performers sang familiar songs, upbeat tunes that lifted the mood. Each performance was good, solid, respectful, but predictable. People clapped politely, but nothing felt truly magical yet. The hall was waiting for a spark, something powerful enough to ignite the hearts of everyone sitting there. In the middle of the second hour, after several performers had taken their turn, the host paused, looking at his clipboard with a puzzled expression. He laughed lightly, pretending everything was normal, but his eyes gave away confusion. It seemed that the next scheduled performer had not arrived. The backstage crew signaled to him, confirming the absence. The host turned toward the audience, shrugging as he spoke. He asked if anyone out there felt brave enough to come on stage and fill the empty slot. The room suddenly grew still. Some people laughed, thinking it was just a joke. Others whispered to each other, imagining how frightening it would be to stand in front of hundreds of eyes. The host repeated the question, encouraging the crowd to take a chance. A few hands raised halfway, then quickly dropped. And then, from the very back of the room, slowly, quietly, a single hand lifted fully into the air. A woman stood up. She wore simple clothes, an oversized sweater and jeans. There was nothing special or glamorous about her appearance. She seemed surprised by her own courage, as if her hand rose before her mind had time to stop it. People turned to look at her, some amused, some curious. The host motioned for her to come forward. She hesitated only for a moment, then started walking down the aisle toward the stage. With each step she took, the audience felt a strange silence growing around her. Not an uncomfortable silence, but a magnetic one. Something about her presence drew everyone in. She climbed the stairs and stood at the center of the stage, unsure of what to do with her hands. The host smiled, asking her name. She answered softly, barely loud enough for the microphone to capture. Her name was Mia. When the host asked what she planned to perform, Mia hesitated. She said she would sing, but her voice trembled slightly. The audience exchanged looks. Many assumed she would be shy, nervous, unprepared. Some even thought she might walk off stage before she began. But she stayed. She took a slow breath. And for a moment the entire hall felt frozen in time. The music director asked what song she wanted to perform. Mia mentioned an old ballad, one that most people knew from years ago. A song filled with emotion, longing, and quiet strength. The kind of song that required not just a voice but a soul. The music began softly, with a gentle piano line echoing through the hall. At first Mia closed her eyes. Her hands shook slightly, but she steadied herself. When she opened her eyes again, something had changed inside her. She stepped closer to the microphone. The piano swelled, and then she began to sing. The first note that came from her mouth was delicate, almost like a whisper. But within seconds it transformed into something powerful. Her voice carried emotion so raw and sincere that the audience felt it like a wave washing over them. It was not just singing. It was a story unfolding in sound. A confession of heartbreak, hope, pain, and rebirth all at once. People leaned forward in their seats. Some gasped quietly. Others felt a sudden tightness in their chest without understanding why. As Mia continued singing, her voice gained strength, reaching notes that seemed almost impossible for an ordinary person. It was as if the music had awakened a hidden part of her, a part she herself had not realized existed. Her voice rose and fell with perfect control, carrying every emotion with clarity. She was not performing for applause. She was singing because the song lived inside her and needed to be released. Halfway through the performance, tears began to fill the eyes of several audience members. Strangers looked at one another, sharing the same astonishment. They were watching something rare, something authentic, something they did not know they needed until that very moment. Even the host stood at the side of the stage, wide-eyed, unable to look away. The backstage crew stopped working completely, their focus locked on Mia. The judges, who had seen thousands of performers in their careers, felt chills running down their arms. Mia reached the bridge of the song, the most emotional part, filled with longing and resolution. Her voice cracked slightly, not from weakness but from feeling. It made the performance even more real and more powerful. She took a breath and delivered the final verses with a quiet strength that silenced every sound in the hall. When she reached the last note, holding it steady and pure, the room felt weightless, as if time itself paused to listen. When the song ended, Mia lowered her head, stepping back from the microphone. For a few seconds, no one moved. No one clapped. No one even breathed. The silence was sacred, filled with the echo of the emotion she had poured out. And then suddenly the entire hall erupted. People stood to their feet, cheering, shouting, applauding louder than they had all night. The sound was overwhelming. The host rushed forward, his expression stunned, as he joined the standing ovation. Mia looked around her in disbelief. She had not expected applause. She had not expected praise. She had only wanted to fill a moment with music. Yet she had given the audience something unforgettable. Tears filled her eyes as the crowd kept cheering. Some people were crying openly, amazed by what they had just witnessed. Others recorded the moment to share later, knowing they had seen something extraordinary. The judges approached her on stage, each of them praising her performance with genuine admiration. They asked where she had trained. She revealed softly that she had never taken professional lessons. She had only sung alone in her room as a way to cope with difficult moments in life. Music had always been her escape, her comfort, her quiet friend. But she never believed she was good enough to share it with others. One of the judges shook his head, telling her that talent like hers was rare and pure. Another insisted she must return for the next round of the show. Mia felt overwhelmed but grateful. The host asked the audience if they wanted to see her again, and the entire hall roared with a unified yes. It was clear she had won their hearts completely. From that moment, everything changed for Mia. The video of her surprise performance spread across social media within hours. People around the world watched her performance and felt the same chills, the same emotion that filled the hall that night. Comments poured in, praising her authenticity and soulfulness. Music producers reached out, wanting to meet her. News channels invited her for interviews, asking how it felt to rise from an anonymous audience member to a sensation in a single night. Despite the sudden attention, Mia remained humble. She continued to sing, not for fame but for the love of music. Every time she performed, her voice carried the same sincerity, the same emotional force that had stunned the audience on that unforgettable night. People continued to follow her journey, inspired by her courage to step onto a stage she had never planned to walk on. But the most powerful part of the story was not her rise to fame. It was the lesson people took from her moment. In every crowd, in every room, there are hidden talents waiting for the right moment to be seen. People who doubt themselves, believe they are ordinary or unworthy of attention. Yet sometimes all it takes is a single step, a single chance to uncover something extraordinary. Years later, the Grand Hall where she first performed installed a plaque on the wall, telling the story of how an unknown woman from the audience changed the meaning of the show forever. When visitors read it, they felt inspired to believe in their own hidden abilities. Mia occasionally returned to the hall, not as a guest but as a special performer invited to open the annual talent showcase. Every time she sang, the memory of her first unexpected performance filled the room with warmth. People often asked her what gave her the courage to raise her hand that night. She always smiled and said she did not know. But deep inside, she believed that the music inside her had been waiting for the right moment to step into the world. And that night, when the host asked for a volunteer, something inside her whispered that this was her moment. A moment not planned, not expected, but destined. Her story became legendary, a reminder that beauty can come from the unplanned, and that sometimes the most powerful performances come from those who never knew they had greatness within them. And so the legend lived on the night when an unexpected audience member stepped onto the stage and blew everyone away.